Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and we are joined by Frank Holmes, Chairman of Hive Blockchain Tech and CEO as well as CIO at US Global Investors, someone with an abundant knowledge of the markets. First of all, thank you for joining us. I've seen a few of your interviews and I'm happy to finally get the chance to talk with you.
Well, it's lovely chatting with you.
Now, today we will be talking about solutions to fiat, aka gold, and cryptocurrency. And first, Frank, we've seen a lot of market manipulation in the gold and silver markets, especially since 2012. It has appeared, however, in the past year that both gold and silver are attempting to break the artificial bear market and bounce up, kind of like a beach ball suppressed underwater, gaining pressure. Do you think we can expect a rally in 2018?
Yeah, I think there's many factors that are very bullish for gold this year. One is the backdrop of Europe. When you take a look at Italy and the volatility what's taking place, and there's a real anti-establishment. And the establishment in Italy is socialist, entrenched bureaucrats in the government that are hardcore socialists. And that's where people, the middle class taxpayers, voted against them. And we're seeing that in many countries around the world, sort of the game changer, like you see in America with President Trump. How that creates an unsettling, and since President Trump's been in power, actually gold has done reasonably well. I always like to remind investors since 2000, gold has doubled the performance of the S&P 500, 200% greater performance. And then last year, it was up over 13%, which isn't too bad. And year to date, is actually, I think, still slightly outperforming the stock market. So I think there's a real importance of it. And then we had the supply side of gold. It's peaked. There's no new technology like we experienced in the energy for frackers. So I think that as the world's population grows, I think as this unsettling that takes place in Europe, or it's going to be in Asia, is very, very bullish for gold. And maybe this drama taking place in, what people don't realize is that in Italy, they had $1 trillion of non-performing, never going to pay back loans. They just took them out of the system, bought them back, and created paper money. And then you see the German banks, and the Germans all of a sudden want their gold moved back from New York back to Germany. That to me is a thought leadership that's looking down the road that's very bullish for gold. So I was going to stick to my guns. I'm looking for 1,500 by year end.
Yeah, I believe it was last year that Germany repatriated, I think, the second most amount of gold ever in history. There's definitely a big move towards gold, especially among the establishment, which is usually a good sign that maybe we as individuals should look at gold. I mean, it's only been wealth insurance for thousands of years. So moving on to cryptocurrencies. In 9 short years, we've seen the rise of a monetary revolution without a shot fired. Not only has it been incredibly revolutionary, but it's also been incredibly lucrative to those investing. Can you go into why cryptocurrencies are a game changer?
Well, I think the world's changed with millennials. Baby boomers like myself may have more wealth, but the sheer numbers of millennials are greater. Millennials in the digital world have different elements of trust. I would never trust Tinder. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And the immediacy of making a decision, all of a sudden quickly trust Uber and then Airbnb. And it shocks you that Airbnb is the largest hotel company in the world that owns no hotels. Uber is the biggest cab company in the world that owns no taxis. So it's a new trust. So along comes Bitcoin, and it's the leadership, and it shows, like, emails show that you could transmit information over the internet. All of a sudden now, Bitcoin shows you can move and transport value, a value proposition. And that's really opened up blockchain technology along with the other coins, because there's a new level of trust. People always trusted gold. They always trusted dollars. In fact, it's interesting that the US government, and all the $100 they print, 80% gets shipped abroad, that they're saved like they're gold by many entrepreneurs, business people, bad guys, good guys, and central banks keep wads of $100 bill cash. So the new millennials are taking digital money. They trust it, and that's a big game changer.
Absolutely, and it's important to recognize that, for example, gold, silver, they a lot of their value is based in the fundamental fact that they have scarcity, application use, and demand. And similarly, so with Bitcoin, there's a lot of scarcity, there's application use, and of course, a lot of people love it. There's a lot of faith in Bitcoin, and we've recently seen quite the dip. Nothing to be too concerned over, but do you see us returning to a bull market in cryptocurrencies over the next few months, or is it going to be longer down the road?
Well, I've done other interviews, and the thought process is this: the beginning of this year, we immediately, as soon as there was a meeting going to be with the Senate, U.S. Senate on regulations, we saw Bitcoin and all the coins sell off. Then after that meeting, they rallied. Now there's going to be a meeting with the SEC, with Congress. They sold off again. And then they rally. And now we come to mid-April for tax season, and the IRS are pushing for more disclosure. Then all of a sudden, people are selling Bitcoin and other currencies to pay their taxes. It is sold off again. Then we get this wonderful rally. And then what happens now is the G20 countries. And supposedly in the second week of July, the G20, the finance ministers of the world's cartel, I like to call it, it functions like OPEC cartel. It doesn't matter if there's a battle between one country and the next. The finance ministers are synchronized tax and regulation, and they're supposed to come up with something, some policies for the crypto world. And I think then we'll get a sell. We're going through that sell-off now, and then we'll get a big rally from there going into the year end.
Yeah, I find most of the regulations and laws somewhat futile long term. I mean, considering how revolutionary cryptocurrencies, if properly decentralized and fundamentally useful, really are. And that's why I love, for example, EOS, which isn't based in the United States. It's getting around the laws regarding the SEC trying to file it as a security. It can't be because people in the United States, unless they have a VPN, can't really get EOS. But I wanted to ask you, what are your top crypto picks for 2018?
You know, that's not been my forte. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
brand new guy, and I'm an old guy in your youthful digital world. But what I do see is that its dynamic is changing all the time. I think Bitcoin will go through another run and applying Metcalfe's law. It's going to significantly increase, and I think they can use the futures market to try to dampen it. But I think it's just going to end up going to new levels. When we look at Coinbase, which in 3 years has opened up more accounts than Schwab in 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you can open up an account in an hour. I've been told we originally it was 5 minutes to open up a Coinbase account and send money in. And what's happened with millennials is that they're going to go trade these coins, not junior mining. $5 billion went into the creation of new ICOs. I think what really concerns the regulators, and I think is healthy, is that there's lots of these ICOs or formation of capital, and they're really securities. They're not meeting the test to be a currency. And I think that there's been a sloppiness there, and there's been some scams, and it's good that we get this cleaned up. But I think that the overall, like EOS and some of these other coins or currencies, they're real, and many of the Microsofts, the Dells of the world, they're accepting Bitcoin, they're accepting Ethereum, and most of the protocols in these new coins are Ethereum. So I'm very biased and bullish on Ethereum. We mine Ethereum. We mine Ethereum in Iceland. We also mine Ethereum in Sweden. We announced a mega transaction in Norway. There is a run to get this cheap electricity for the data centers, and the data centers are going to only grow and be more significant when we look at artificial intelligence and animation of movies. They all need these GPU cards, and they really need cheap electricity to do so. So we're going into these countries, and Norway could, over the next 10 years, be 1.5 gigawatts. I mean, gigawatts, not 30 megawatts, but gigawatts. So we're very excited about the many uses besides the cryptocurrency when you talk about these GPU cards. So we're seeing Facebook in Sweden beside us. There's Google. So there's lots of interest, but the race right now is to get data centers in long-term contracts of green energy, recyclable energy, and that's what Hive has been busy doing. And so right now we're mining Ethereum. Other major liquid coins are based on the protocol of Ethereum. and our big blowout and build out, you want to call it, when we launch Bitcoin production is going to be in September. And I hope from my lips to God's ears that Bitcoin will have bottomed between now and then and is on the rise.
Absolutely. And we are going to dig deep into Hive blockchain in a moment. But I wanted to ask you, so many people on the gold side attack cryptocurrencies and people on the crypto side attack the gold market. Both are great, in my opinion. Gold is great wealth insurance. Certain cryptos are as well, not to mention a great investment. How important is a well-diversified portfolio, and why should people potentially carry both?
Well, I've always advocated a 10% weighting in gold and rebalance each year. It's always been my thought process. I think the other really important part for the listeners is that the original buyers of Bitcoin at $10, at $5 were gold bugs.
Mm-hmm.
They loved it because A, it was decentralized, and B, it was capped at 21 million coins. So I don't think it's just people that create headlines. It's just not true. I think what's really hurt the gold world, equity world, has been junior exploration, which is basically speculation. And the millennials are not speculating for junior mining. They're speculating in new ICOs. They relate to a new coin. It could be convertible into this or get convertible into that. They love the vision. And they can buy $2,000. They can open an account quickly. They're not going to wait a week to open a brokerage account. They're open in a day or actually an hour. And as mentioned earlier, some of these sites can do it in 5 minutes. So I think that the millennials, and think of this, that it blew me away, the data point that Ethereum created 10,000 millennial millionaires, 10,000. Whereas you take a look, the only time a CEO could ever say this was John Chambers said that in the 90s, he created 10,000 millionaires building Cisco. He said he can never do that today with the excessive regulations. So the millennials aren't playing the stocks. It can't be done, as John Chambers says. They're going to speculate in this crypto world. And I think a lot of it realize it's not dividend looking investing. It's not retirement investing. It's just pure wonderful speculation, which to me is more exciting than going to buy a lottery ticket. It's more exciting than going to the racetrack, and it's much more exciting for me than going to the casino. So I think that people have to look at when they go and buy any of these coins, it's not investing, it's wonderful speculation.
Yeah, sure. Now, something as you mentioned that I'm very interested in is Hive, which of course you are chairman of. Can you explain what Hive Blockchain is and how it came to be?
Well, Hive is the first industrial crypto mining company. And I think what's really important, what I learned, because I was trying to launch an ETF that would own these coins, Ethereum, Bitcoin, etc. But there's just no way the regulators would allow that. They are just so fearful of AML, anti-money laundering laws, being broken, that some hacker gets Bitcoin and it shows up on an ETF listed in New York. I totally understand and agree with them. I learned this quickly, and I turned around and got the opportunity to participate in the first institutional investor that I became the second largest investor in the creation of Hive as an individual, along with Genesis Mining, which at the beginning owned 30% of it. Meeting Genesis Mining that have a phenomenal business model. They're the biggest industrial mining, but for retail people, they have 2 million customers that pay them to use their cloud space, to use their operations in Iceland and Sweden. So having them, this is the first public vehicle. And the fact is, we mine virgin coins. Whenever you validate a new coin, every 10 minutes for Bitcoin, you get new Bitcoins. That's why they're called the Genesis coin. And so those coins have no AML problems. So that really allured me into this looks fascinating. And meeting Marco Strang and Marco Krohn, the two partners behind Genesis Mining, the private company, and they're going to own 30% of Hive Blockchain. And it would be the first public company where investors could turn around and participate in this phenomenal growth cycle in the crypto world. We don't have any of the AML problems. We just have to make sure we build great data centers in very inexpensive electrical areas, such as Iceland, or is geothermal electricity, green energy, and having the partner Genesis Mining, they're basically have a special contract and they have the best technology. They're like the Porsche engineers behind that Porsche car. So it's been a very exciting launch. We raised $16 million, went public, and immediately the valuation went to $1 billion. We tapped the capital markets in the last quarter of 2017 several times, and we raised $200 million to have a plan out to double our production every quarter. And then by September, we would go from, we launched this thing using 2.2 megawatts of energy, that by September this year, an amazing 1-year run, will be up to 44 megawatts, a 20-fold increase in our production.
Well, on that point, what do you think has been the most incredible achievement that Hive has made in this incredibly competitive market?
Well, many, because we were the first. And we were the first to give you, and we're bankrolling. We're only selling 10% of our production, and we built this big bank of coins. So we were the first, and all of a sudden in Canada came all these other blockchains, something like 50 other blockchain transactions took place. America started coming to raise capital because the ability to raise capital in Canada is much easier, more liquid than it is taking place for speculative capital formation in the US. So that was unprecedented. But we're the cleanest, we're the biggest. We have no debt. We make money. We basically went from $1 million a month original business pro forma to $1 million a week. And hopefully by September, if the coins are where they are today, we could be doing $2 million a week and making $1 million a week of free cash flow. That's all that the performance suggests based on the cryptocurrency prices today.
That's already better than anything I've seen on that Shark Tank show, and it's pretty incredible. With Ethereum going up substantially right now, what does every $10 do to Hive's bottom line? And do you plan to mine other coins in 2018 besides Ethereum in the September launch of Hive's Bitcoin facility?
Well, there are several questions. You know, it's very difficult for me to give you the $10 move in Ethereum, what it means. The reason for that is that as the coin surges, more people come to mine, so it becomes more competitive. So your costs start to rise. So that's a very much more dynamic moving target. But what's really more important for us of projecting, like you do a gold mine, you look at what your gold production is today, you forecast what it could be, and then you say, well, gold goes at this price level, what it could be. So if Ethereum is where it is today, Bitcoin is where it is today, we could be doing $100 million by September, making 50 million. Now, what's really interesting is that in December, on that run rate, when Ethereum was 1,300 and Bitcoin was 16,000, our run rate could be 300 million revenue. So we're very leveraged to any surge in the coins. We participate both in getting more coins from our production and the bank of coins that we've already created.
Wow. Well, can you go a bit into the Bitcoin facility?
Well, the Bitcoin facility is in Sweden, and we're going to have the newest chips out there so that they're much more efficient. The use of the Antminers, for simplicity, is the most used chip. The longevity of this ASIC chip is about 2 years. The GPU cards last much longer, and if you render them for animation movies and for artificial intelligence, they can last 5 or 6 years. So they have a greater longevity. But I think that what we're hoping for is to have the latest of the ASICs chip and to be able to rock and roll and be very competitive. I don't think a lot of people realize that when you're mining Bitcoin, it's the most competitive arena. There are 12,000 nodes around the world, and it's like a drop puck or a jump ball in basketball, drop puck in hockey. And there's a scramble to go and get that trade. And every 10 minutes, it's a competition to get it. And do you have the fastest software? And do you have the ability to with electricity, cheap electricity, to be competitive, to unravel that coin, its cryptology, and re-cement it, and basically put it into the open ledger world? It's very, very competitive. So we need to have cheap electricity and the latest of chips.
Well, can you explain how you'll be diversifying outside of just mining?
Well, that's the strategy. Right now, I'm just so focused on making sure the build out, which is going right exactly as the business model suggested would. Much better than most of the gold mining companies I've invested in. There's always delays and disappointments. Touch wood, so far we've achieved every milestone. But I'm so focused that we're going to be able to get the production up in time in September for Bitcoin. Then we'll start going into the other currencies.
Sure. Do you believe that Hive can possibly become as much of as a $10 billion company?
Well, from your lips to God's ears, that's all I can tell you. Uh, it's a function of the capital markets interest in the space. It's a function of the movement in the direction of rising markets for these coins, and more people participating, as Metcalfe's law would suggest. I think that would make it very feasible. We could be a $10 billion company. So it's not out of sight. Right now, it's just out of reach.
Well, I talked to a lot of people behind a lot of major companies, a lot of major innovations, and it just seems, and I've seen a lot of my friends talk about Hive in their videos as well, and I find there's so much potential there that I think a lot more people need to know about. So I wanted to ask you, what's your bottom line message to our viewers regarding why they should get involved in Hive?
Well, a lot of the original gold bugs, they never sold their gold to buy Bitcoin. They diversified. And like you mentioned the question earlier about diversifying, I think it's just prudent for people that to take a look at this asset class and have 1% to 5% invested in it. If you're not going to go open an account at Coinbase or in Canada, Einstein, to get your direct exposure, I think that a company like Hive gives you that stock trade ability to participate in it. Now, remember the volatility over any 10-day trading period. It is a non-event for the stock market to go up 2% or down, gold plus or minus 2%. The volatility of gold is the same as the S&P 500, but Bitcoin and Ethereum, now that's another level of volatility. That daily volatility is 6 to 8%, or in a 10-day trading period, it's 18 to 21%. So this is very volatile. So if you want to play this space, you look at Hive as a way, if you're a stock player, to buy it on the down days. You see Ethereum down, Bitcoin down, the sentiment usually softens the stock up. That's a better way to take a look at buying it.
It's brilliant to see this kind of innovation happening in the market. It's such a fast moving market. Now, I wanted to ask you, how can people get involved? Where can they go to get involved?
Well, Hive trades in Canada. HIVE.V is the ticker. And in the US, it trades over the counter market, which has more initials. It's HVBT F for foreign security. So HV, like victory, Bob, Tom, F for foreign. That's how you buy it in over the counter in the US.
Oh, well, it's very interesting, and something I want the viewers to check out as I wrap this up is to check out www.pureblockchainwealth.com/block for in-depth overview of Hive. You can also go to hiveblockchain.com to learn more, and it's been really great talking with you, sir. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to talk with you again.
And your readers and listeners can also go to usfunds.com. And we write, and I have about 40,000 people in 180 countries every week. And we talk about cryptocurrency with Frank Talk and Investor Alert. So it's free, and you can live through me vicariously as I travel around the world.
Yeah, you heard the man. Don't miss the updates. Thank you very much, Frank.
Happy investing and happy speculation.
Like what you see here, WAM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so overwhelmingly demonetized and censored by YouTube as the ADL comes in and flags all of our content as hate speech. Also, check our Bitcoin address in the description as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And also find us at steemit.com at Josh Sigurdson, the future of social media, where you get paid in the upvote of your post in Steem, the cryptocurrency. And also find us at the Red Pill Expo, which we have a reference link for below in the description and the comments as well. Hosted by G. Edward Griffin, amazing speakers coming out to speak this year. Don't miss it. It's in Spokane, Washington, June 21st to 23rd. We hope to see you there. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.